Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to do my sea wave stitch. And here's what it looks like. A really nice stitch. You could do it for bags or scarves or shawls or hats or whatever you would like to do it with. And blankets too. And wondering why I called it sea wave, because it doesn't exactly look like sea waves. But ta-da, on the back. See if I can get this in there. Looks like sea waves. Okay. So the yarn I'm using is, I love this chunky yarn in the color Sunset, and it's from Hobby Lobby. And the loom hook that I'm using is one from a company that doesn't make them anymore, but they do have similar ones on Etsy if you want a little bit wider of a hook, easier on your fingers. The loom I'm using is a Cindywood loom, and this one is a 30 peg 3/4 inch. So you can see that this bulky on a 3/4 inch is a nice tight stitch. Cast on with owl eye. I cast on with a chain cast on, and then I put on my 2 rows of owl eye. I didn't do any kind of an edge, and I can see that it's just slightly coming in, so I would do an owl eye edge. But what I was going to use this for, the edge does not matter. So I didn't do a real edge, but you could do an owl eye edge or any kind of edge that you'd like. This is just a stitch video, so I'm just showing you how to do the stitch. Okay, the pattern, it might be a little hard to see on here, but it's a pattern. These little 5 things here, right here, are the pattern. So that is what's repeating again and again and again. I hope that helps you to see them. Okay, so let's get right into doing the stitch. So it's a 2-row stitch. It can be even or odd, that doesn't matter. Okay, you can use as many pegs as you want or as few pegs as you want. So row 1. Now you're going to go behind the peg like you're going to do an E-wrap, and you're just going to come up in the E-wrap but not knit it over, and then you're going to take your hook, come in from the bottom, scoop up the yarn, and just bring it over the top and tighten, but not too tight. Keep it loose. This can get really tight if you don't keep it loose, so check and make sure it's loose enough to go over the peg. You're just going to slightly tighten it up. Okay, so we come behind in the E-wrap, and then we just come from under, scoop it up, and then just flip it over and barely tighten it. Okay, now this stitch, when we come under here and pull it up, is called a purl over, and we're doing that after doing an E-wrap motion. So it's not the way that Teresa Higby does the purl over, but she has given me permission to use her purl over stitch. It's not really like a purl, because a purl you'd be holding your yarn down here and coming down here. This is more like how you would do a traditional knit, but that is how the purl over stitch goes, right? But we do it from we're doing it from an E-wrap. We're coming down and going up and flipping it over, so it's not a purl. Okay, and then we're keeping it loose enough we can get it over. That's really important. So Now I just tend to flip it over like this with the loom hook, and that keeps it the looseness I want. Okay, so you do that, come under, and flip it over the peg. Okay, so you're going behind like you're doing an E-wrap, coming up, you're going down, flipping it over. That's all there is to it. E-wrap, bottom, scoop it up, flip it over. Okay, and then all I was doing here, I have to get some more yarn out here. There we go. All I did here was just knit it over. But like I say, I didn't do a proper edge, and I can see that it's curling in a tiny bit, but for what I'm doing, that's not going to matter. But you're going to want to do some kind of an edge treatment. Okay, now the second stitch, really easy, is owl eye. And if you haven't done owl eye, all you do is you go over peg 1 and 2 here, and then you're always on peg 1, and you're always wrapping 1 and 2 over like this loosely, just knitting them over. You're always at peg 1, you're wrapping peg 1 and 2, knit it over. Always at peg 1, you're knitting 1 and 2, knit it over. It's that easy. You notice it's easy for me to knit them over, and that's because I kept that E-wrap purl over stitch nice and loose. Okay, so I'm going to come back, and we're just going to do this end peg. Okay, now I'm going to do this one over again. Get this closer, nice and slow. E-wrap, taking the loom hook, putting it under, scooping up the working yarn, and just flipping it over. Okay. Now, you don't, if you have trouble flipping it over, you can just do it with your fingers, even nice and big. This is the working yarn here, so you can pull it big and small. So just slightly tighten it over. You should see the work looking like this. If you have it loose enough, you should see this little bulge here and this little bulge here, and that tells me, I'll hold on to this, this tells me this is loose enough that I can knit it over. See, nice and easy. So that's what you should see. If you pull it really tight, those bulges, see, they go way back to the back. That's not where you want them. I'm just going to loosen this up again. There we go. So that they come back. Okay. There we go. And this is loose enough to come over. Okay, so we're going to just do the E-wrap stitch. We're going to go under, scoop it up, and flip it over. Okay. And as you notice, these things are right here and here where you can see them. Nice and loose, so I can get this over. Okay, E-wrap, and just flip it over. And it can, you can get going really fast. You're just doing this, flipping it over. Okay, and if you have trouble doing that, you can just take it and put the loop over with your fingers. Do a slight tightening. Okay, it's pretty easy, however you do it. Now I've done quite a few of them, which is probably why it's so easy for me to just flip it over with the loom hook. And then we come over. And again, row 2 is just owl eye stitch. So always on peg 1, behind and over, peg 1 and 2. Always on peg 1, over, peg 1 and 2. Very easy stitch, and I'm keeping it nice and loose. And the reason I'm so easily knitting this is because I kept those purl overs nice and loose. That's the trick. They can tighten up if you tighten them up too tightly. You're going to have a hard time knitting things over. Go back here. I'm coming back over this way. And I'll do one more row, making sure you really understand how to do this stitch. And look at how much this has grown. Goes quite fast. We're putting a couple stitches each time we go around. So it grows pretty fast. Okay, so behind the peg, doing an E-wrap, coming up, taking this loom hook from the bottom, scooping this up to scoop the other one down through it like that, and flipping it over. Okay, doing the E-wrap, coming from the bottom, scooping over the top, pulling the loop, and flipping that over. Okay, see how easy that is? Oh, the yarn's all tangled here. And I just flip it over with the loom hook. Tighten it lightly. Usually when you do it with the loom hook here, you don't even need much tightening. Does it just about perfect. Of course, as soon as I say that, this is getting awkward. Because I am at an awkward angle. But I'm keeping this good view in the camera. Okay. So that's all there is to this stitch. And it looks good also with any kind of yarn with the right loom. You're always going to get this kind of a pattern. So you could use it in blankets where it's part of the pattern, and then there's other patterns in it. It's a very versatile type of stitch and very easy to do. And this, if you like the look of this at the back, this is quite a cool look, I think, too. So on a scarf or something, you could have it be reversible with a different stitch. Or on a blanket. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and you have some fun with this stitch. And until next time, bye.